He played a key role in the fall of the Galactic Empire. So what is Lando Calrissian's life story? LXXXIV presents Star Wars Lore Episode 84, The Life of Lando Calrissian. Lando was born on Socorro and had a comfortable childhood. With that being said though, he did venture into gambling, smuggling, and was even a con artist at an early age. By the age of 17, Calrissian had learned how to play Sabacc, a card game that was usually played for high stakes. Although he did win money quite often, his arguably biggest prize was the battered YT-1300 freighter called the Millennium Falcon. This came about around 4 BBY when he defeated LXXXIV with the best hand in Sabacc. Lando could not pilot the ship as he had no flying experience. Because of this, he sought out the Corellian smuggler and skilled pilot Han Solo so he could be taught how to fly. Calrissian located Solo on the moon of Nar Shaddaa. However, Han was drugged and held at gunpoint by the bounty hunter Boba Fett. Fett wanted to collect a bounty that was put on the smuggler, but he was caught off guard by Lando. He used the drug administered on Solo to intoxicate the bounty hunter. Calrissian gave Han the antidote before ordering Boba to fly his ship to unknown space. Afterwards, Lando was taught the basics of starship piloting. He then started to do smuggling runs by himself to gain more experience. Unfortunately, Calrissian was never lucky. He struggled with debts and poor business decisions. Even when tables turned, his good fortunes never lasted. To ease his money problems, Lando entered the Cloud City Sabacc tournament along with Solo. Sadly, he came in second place, losing to Han. In the final round, Calrissian had put any one of his ships he owned as part of his bet. Unfortunately, Solo chose the Millennium Falcon, which was his favourite. The ship was not the prettiest one out of the selection, but it was the most efficient. Lando was nearly broke as a result of the Sabacc tournament, but he did manage to recoup his losses afterwards. Around 2 ABY, and after Lando spent several months gambling at Cloud City's casinos, he played a game of Sabacc against the Baron Administrator of the facility. Although the game was riddled with underhanded tactics, Calrissian won the high stakes. Through victory, Lando replaced Dominic Raynor as the Baron Administrator. Although the method in which he done so was seen as unorthodox, a vote by the two governing bodies of Cloud City confirmed his new position. Calrissian's sudden rise to power was documented by Cinnabar's Infonet, which produced a full-page article on his story. The former Baron Administrator swore to get revenge on Calrissian after he won the job from him. In one attempt, Raynor hired bounty hunter Bosk to kill the gambler. Lando narrowly avoided death. In another, he was nearly killed by a huge explosion. This came around 6 weeks after winning the position, when a human replica droid of the supposed visiting Queen Sarna of Drogheda exploded. The plan was to have the droid look as similar to the Queen as possible, so to get close enough to Lando for a lethal explosion. To find out who was behind the attack, Calrissian and Lobot used the assassination attempt to fake their deaths. News quickly spread around Cloud City, and the two went on a secret mission to find the perpetrator. They concluded it was Raynor, and the two used their death to catch him by surprise. With the threat dealt with, Calrissian and Lobot revealed their survival. Lando took his job as Baron Administrator very seriously. He became a legal citizen and worked closely with Lobot. Calrissian became known as a capable steward of Cloud City, who divided his time between conferences with the Parliament of Guilds, reviewing possible trade routes and agreements, and making appearances to Cloud City's people. He tried to keep a balance between what the citizens wanted and what the businesses wanted also, in an attempt to keep everyone happy. Lando was also responsible for being a judge in a number of legal disputes, or crimes, for people. He always used the advice of Lobot to come to his legal decisions. Over time, Calrissian and his right-hand man, or should I say cyborg, created a non-verbal communication system which allowed them to exchange messages subtly. In addition, Lando wore a hidden wrist comlink that could interface with the Cloud City computer. It also allowed him to command those serving him. Cloud City was a key source of Tibanna gas, and so it was a lucrative target for the Galactic Empire. Lando managed to hide his operations from the Empire until Boba Fett and Darth Vader landed in Cloud City. They were in pursuit of the Millennium Falcon, Han, and his companions. The two reached Cloud City before the rebels could, and were able to easily blackmail Calrissian. The lives of everyone on Cloud City were at stake if he never betrayed his friend, so the Baron Administrator reluctantly agreed to help the Empire. The plan was for Lando to detain the Falcon's crew until Luke Skywalker arrived and was captured by Vader. When the Falcon landed, Calrissian greeted the crew warmly and acted like nothing was wrong. Soon after, Lando informed Vader of the rebels' arrival and then escorted them to a room filled with refreshments. The room was actually filled with a whole lot of Vader, who officially declared Solo and company as prisoners. Vader began to manipulate the agreement he had with the Baron Administrator, and when Lando tried to counter it, the Sith Lord threatened him. Sick of the Empire's ways, Calrissian planned with Lobot to turn the tables on the unwanted Imperials. After more threatening, Lando ordered the prisoners to the carbon freezing chamber. He had to watch Solo get frozen, which deeply affected him. He even had nightmares based on the events afterwards. Not long after, Calrissian and Lobot started their plan to counter the Empire presence. The Baron Administrator ordered an evacuation of Cloud City, but sadly could not stop Fett from leaving with Han. He and the former prisoners then headed to his former ship and successfully took off. Before they completely left, Leia Organa sends her brother's call for help from Cloud City. After being threatened by Chewbacca, Lando turned the Falcon towards Luke in order to save him. After Skywalker's rescue, Calrissian used hyperspace to travel to the Rebel rendezvous point. He was glad to be away from Vader, and he left a recording inside R2-D2 which detailed his adventures with the Rebellion. Feeling bad for what happened to Solo, Lando joined the Rebel Alliance, partnering with Chewbacca on the Millennium Falcon to find their friend. The two struggled to locate him, but they would never give up. Later, Calrissian returned to the imperialized Cloud City. He was shocked to find the location abandoned, and so queried the city's central computer, which told him the population had evacuated to the artificial surface below the city. At that point, he was attacked by Lobot, who thought he was an intruder. Lando took a fair beating before escaping. He soon overheard Imperials who answered why no one was around. The city had been evacuated because of a bomb threat. The bombs were later disarmed. When Solo was located, Lando managed to be admitted into the Hutt Guardsmen's Guild in an attempt to rescue him. Once admitted, Calrissian adopted the pseudonym Tamtel Screech. So that he would be placed in Jabba's palace as a guard, Lando had to pass certain tests. One was to leap across a Rancor pit, and another was stealing Krayt Dragon eggs. Boba Fett acted as a referee for him during the trials. However, Calrissian had to prove himself more to Jabba. In order to do so, he entered Jabba's demolition games. During this time, Lobot came to Jabba's palace in order to dismantle the rogue droid EV-9D9. Jabba planned on feeding the cyborg to his Rancor, but Lando convinced the Hutt to have Lobot entered into the demolition games. The cyborg did not know the true identity of Tam Tell, which made fighting his former sidekick somewhat easier. Calrissian survived the games against the likes of Aurra Sing and Boba Fett, which impressed Jabba. Lando was present as each member of the rebel rescue team entered the palace. He remained incognito even when Solo was released from the carbonite, Chewbacca was imprisoned, and Leia was made Jabba's slave, though he did make sure Organa was okay. Luke then appeared but was released by a trapdoor to the Slug's Rancor. To Jabba's surprise, the Jedi defeated the Beast. Soon after, Skywalker, Solo, and Chewbacca were sentenced to death in the Great Pit of Carkoon. Lando was on the same craft as the prisoners, ready to free them once Luke received his lightsaber from R2-D2. Although Calrissian nearly fell into the Sarlacc pit, the plan was executed flawlessly and the prisoners overpowered the captors. In preparation for the attack on the second Death Star, Calrissian was promoted to general. He volunteered and was given command over the rebel starfighter fleet for the upcoming battle. Lando was assigned the call sign Gold Leader, but went by the name Gold Squadron 1 with Wedge Antilles as his wingman and Green Leader. Lando was to pilot his former ship alongside co-pilot Nien Nunb, an old friend from his days as a smuggler. During the attack, Calrissian saved dozens of lives when he announced the Death Star shields were still activated, and his unorthodox strategies proved key during the fight. When the ground team on Endor disabled the Death Star shields, the Millennium Falcon led an attack on the space station's core. After skillfully navigating the Death Star's insides and evading TIE fighters, Lando fired 2 concussion missiles into its reactor core, which began destroying the Death Star. The destruction of the second Death Star, Darth Vader, and Darth Sidious saw the Galactic Empire essentially fully defeated. Calrissian was regarded as a hero, and he joined in on the Endor celebrations. He had to describe to Solo the loss of the Falcon's sensor dish, and he expressed sympathy for Skywalker over the death of his father. However, he rejoiced in the freedom the battle created for the galaxy. Whilst on Endor, Lando left another recording on R2-D2. This time, it detailed his involvement with the Battle of Endor. There is plenty of information on Lando after the events of Episode 6, but because it is no longer deemed canon, I won't talk about it in this video. Lando is rumoured to appear in one of the upcoming Star Wars films, so we will learn even more about his character, Len. However, if you would like to learn all about his non-canon life after the Battle of Endor, then I will happily make a part 2 to this video. If you want to learn more about Calrissian, including his personality, talents, and the starships he owned, then click the link on screen or the one in the description. That video comes out on Saturday the 5th, so tomorrow if you're watching this live. Now it's time for this week's question. Where does Lando rank in your top Star Wars characters? Is he one of your favourites? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to vote for next week's episode by liking one of the 2 comments below. And for more Star Wars lore, keep a here to the Kyrgyzstans. Number 5. Mace Windu. Windu was among the highest ranking members of the Jedi Council before the rise of the Galactic Empire. Not only was he a very important individual, but he was an excellent swordsman.